I love the energy in this room. It's not very often that we have this kind of buzz going on in here, and we're about to do something a lot of fun. So thank you all for being here. But I do need to call the March the 16th council meeting to order. I'm going to ask everyone to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. But before I do that, for those of you who don't already know, we have lost a significant member of our community here on March the 7th. Our town crier, Bill Knepp, passed away. And if you will indulge me, I would like to read a wonderful tribute that his son wrote on his behalf. And we can keep him in mind when we stand for our moment of silence. William Bill Knepp, Claremont County's town crier, passed away at age 90. In an era that has downgraded individuality, Bill fully embraced his. He was known as a force of nature, a genuine character, and one of a kind. He lived his entire life according to the lyrics of his favorite Frank Sinatra song, I Did It My Way. Bill Knepp was many things. He was a family man who dearly loved his wife, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and was a surrogate father to many in the area. He was a man of great faith, a decorated Korean War combat veteran who was a member of the Ohio Veterans Hall of Fame, a performer, a master of the one-liner, and a vaudevillain-style slapstick comedy. Bill was a brilliant marketer who, despite lacking a high school diploma, lectured at Harvard Business School. Bill was an original foodie who cooked everything from lip-smacking spare ribs to egg foo young to delicately flavored French sauces. He was a philanthropist who often gave until it hurt. Bill Knepp was unapologetic, full-throated American patriot. He believed that freedom as embodied in the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights to be gifts from God. People all over the region remembered him proclaiming American exceptionalism from his patriotically decorated car. He was never without small American flags to give to children or pocket-sized constitutions to adults. Like Ronald Reagan, he believed that freedom was only one generation away from extinction. He was worried about our faltering patriotism, our ignorance of our history and institutions, and our fading memories of those who sacrificed for freedom. He dreamed of finding a way to remind us of our priceless heritage. He found the answer at a piece of unused wasteland at the Miami Meadows Park in Miami Township, a place he called Spirit of 76 Park. To many, this became known as Bill's Park. The centerpiece of the park is the Korean War Memorial, a stainless steel and black granite representation of Pork Chop Hill. A photograph of a bunker he helped to build, lasered into the granite slab, forms the monument's capstone. Surrounding the memorial are gravestones of the 19 men from Claremont County who were killed in the war. Following the contour of Liberty Lake are two trails memorializing our unique history. The first is the Trail of the Colonies. It presents flowering crabapple trees and boulders marking each of the 13 colonies. The second trail features the words of our founding documents inscribed on black granite benches, all of which were paid for by Milford School students. The final phase of the park, the Legacy Arboretum and Gardens, is under development and is accepting donations. This park became the passion of Bill's final years. It is in his enduring legacy to a community that he truly loved. We are all richer for his passing through here on his way to eternity. Now, if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. Miss Jackie, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mayor Velardo?
Here.
Vice Mayor Evans?
Here.
Ms. Russell?
Here.
Mr. Mitchell?
Here.
Mr. Redmond?
Here.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Here.
Mr. Haskins?
Here.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to pass the floor over to Chief Mills for our annual Milford Police Department Awards. which is definitely one of our favorite days of the year. So welcome.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It is my pleasure to introduce the 2020 Mpd Awards. Each of these recipients were nominated by their peers and selected by the awards committee. These 7 members serve in a variety of capacities, but the one thing they all have in common is that they are all ambassadors, and I'm proud to serve with them. COVID last year made it difficult for us to host a lot of our outreach events, but that did not stop us from reaching out to make sure our residents knew that we were still here for them. So this short video that I'll start with highlights some of our year.
Milford, Sergeant Crider has announced his retirement. Sergeant Crider is a 31-year veteran of the Milford Police Department and served as a patrol officer, field training officer. Executive Leadership College and Certified Law Enforcement Executive Course. I was a founding member. Congratulations on a well-earned retirement. Release from the County Communications, 1745.
So Sergeant Crider can't make it tonight, and we will attempt to recognize him at a future council meeting. But the first category of award tonight is the Chief's Commendation. The Chief's Commendation is issued for outstanding performance that demonstrates the core values of integrity, professionalism, cooperation, and commitment. The first recipient of the Chief's Commendation Award this year is Detective Russ Kenny. If you'd come forward, please. So I should probably explain what Guardian Tracking is for those that aren't aware. That is the software that we use to track performance and behavior of our officers, both positive and negative. So you'll notice that Detective Russ Kenny was recognized 10 times in Guardian Tracking for his hard work and dedication in 2020. He also received a letter of appreciation from a victim and was the recipient of the Investigative Award at the 2020 Law Enforcement Awards Banquet in Claremont County. He's described by the Road Patrol as always willing to assist with their cases, and he's also always willing to back them up. He monitors every day, he monitors the radio, and responds as a backup officer whenever necessary. So it's my pleasure to issue Detective Kenny a Chief's Commendation. Say a few words? No. Okay. Way to set the bar. Now nobody else has to. The other recipient of a Chief's Commendation Medal for 2020 is Sergeant Mark Kibbe. If he'd please come forward. Sergeant Kibbe received 4 Guardian Tracking entries by his supervisor, Chief Mahan, for his teamwork. He also received a Guardian Tracking entry by a peer. Another sergeant recognized him for his compassion in dealing with the domestic violence victim. He's also been recognized as the supervisor of the most productive squad consistently. He holds very high standards for his officers and assumed command of several high-profile critical incidents in 2020, leading each to a successful, safe conclusion. So it's my pleasure to issue Sergeant Mark Kibbe a Chief's Commendation.
Briefly, I just want to thank you, both Chief Mills and Chief Mahan, for the recognition of everyone here tonight. We have nothing less of an outstanding department. I think we all can agree that 2020 was a pretty tough year for all of us. And my particular award's a reflection of my team, not me. I have tremendous buy-in. And so I appreciate all my team members, one of which is here tonight, and she's going to win her own very deserved award tonight. So thank you very much.
If I may, I think your award is a representation of your leadership, so don't sell yourself short. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Our next award is the Silver Bullet. I should call it the Kirk's Jewelers Silver Bullet because that's where it originated. But the MPD Silver Bullet may be awarded to any member of the department who demonstrates exemplary problem solving. The recipient of the MPD Silver Bullet is then encumbered with the responsibility of identifying the next recipient. The MPD Silver Bullet will never be permanently issued and will pass through the hands of active members indefinitely. This year's recipient is Officer Tara Dennis. If she could please come forward. Officer Dennis was selected by last year's recipient, which was Officer Steve Bogan. In 2020, Tara was recognized 12 times for her exemplary problem solving and teamwork. She was part of a team that delivered a baby, apprehended 2 suspects at the scene of a break-in, handled a road rage incident involving a firearm, and worked the tornadic winds of last April. So it's my pleasure to recognize and pass the Silver Bullet on to Officer Tara Dennis.
Very cool.
So Sean can see it. Don't point at me. You want to say anything?
I'm not very good at this. Just want to thank everybody that's here tonight and fellow officers, my sergeant, Sergeant Kibbe. This award means a lot to me due to being with Milford only 4 years and a senior officer recognizing me, so that that means something to me. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Our next 3 awards are actually proclamations. Service proclamations are issued by the mayor to publicly recognize the dedication and commitment of members who have honorably served a full career in the field of public safety. So I'll have Mayor Velardo and Sergeant Keith Belcher come forward, please.
How are you? I don't know if I have them in certain order. Yep, I do. Look at that. All right, so it is my pleasure on behalf of my council colleagues here tonight to read this proclamation to you. Whereas, actually, I don't want to put that down there. Sergeant Belcher began his law enforcement career in 1996 as a corrections officer with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. He began his career with the Milford Police Department in 1999. And whereas Sergeant Belcher holds an associate degree in criminal justice from the University of Cincinnati and is a graduate of the Supervisor Training Education Program, the Police Executive Leadership College, and whereas Sergeant Belcher was a patrol officer, field training officer, detective, and honor guard member prior to being promoted to sergeant in 2011. In addition to supervising a patrol squad, he supervises the training committee, and whereas Sergeant Belcher is the recipient of the Milford Police Department Medal of Valor and Physical Fitness Medal. Now, therefore, I, Amy Velardo, on behalf of my colleagues on the Milford City Council, and by all the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Milford, do hereby congratulate and commend Sergeant Keith Belcher for his 22 years of exemplary service to the residents of the city of Milford. Sorry.
If I could have Police Clerk Patricia Banks come forward, please.
Hi. Miss Banks, my neighbor. Whereas Police Clerk Patricia Banks began her police clerk career in 1997 with the Miami Township Police Department and joined Milford Police in 2002. And whereas submitting all the crime statistics to the FBI for the Uniformed Crime Report accident records to the state of Ohio, and whereas she serves as a, you say CALIA accreditation manager, is a member of the property room team, the selection committee, manages all special duty assignments, and whereas Clerk Banks is the recipient of the Chief's Commendation Medal. Now, therefore, I, Amy Velardo, on behalf of my council colleagues on the city of Milford, and by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Milford, do hereby congratulate and commend Police Clerk Patricia Banks for her 19 years of exemplary service to the residents of the city of Milford. Congratulations.
And next, if I could have Officer Megan Eschman come forward.
Thank you. That's Kreider. You had, oh, I had it right. Hi, Megan. All right. Whereas Officer Megan Eschman graduated from Ashland College with a Bachelor of Science degree in 1985 and began her law enforcement career in 1986 as a special deputy with Wayne County. And whereas Officer Eschman went on to serve Medway and Jackson Townships until 2006, when she accepted a position with Milford Police Department. And whereas Officer Eschman is a certified crime prevention officer, a DARE officer. Over the course of her career, she taught thousands of children the importance of making good decisions, served as the treasurer of DARE Ohio, planned Milford PD's first national night out, the only one to feature free hot air ticket rides, balloon rides. Earned the Chief's Commendation Medal, Meritus Service Medal, Physical Fitness Medal, Exceptional Police Service Award, the Operation Holiday Patrol Award, and the Larry J. Oaks Memorial Award. was there anything else you forgot?
Just one that she hasn't earned. Yeah.
And whereas she holds the distinction of being the only officer to ever appear in an episode of Forensic Files. Now, therefore, I, Amy Velardo, on behalf of my colleagues on the Milford City Council and by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Milford, do hereby congratulate and commend Officer Megan Eschman for her 15 years of exemplary service to the residents of the city of Milford. All right, and I recognize that, as Chief stated, Sergeant Kreider could not be with us this night, but I do want to acknowledge that Sergeant Ron Kreider served 32 years of service to the city of Milford, and we do appreciate his service and dedication to the city of Milford. So for that, I would like to say thank you.
And just to make sure we give Megan enough awards, we're going to keep her up here because she is the perennial winner of the annual Operation Holiday Patrol for handing out the most stuffed animals to our children in the community.
Thank you.
Oh, do you want to say a few words?
I was just going to say thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do something that I love. And that's, I guess, working for you and this community. Thank you.
We love you. Good job.
Yeah.
And that concludes the 2020 awards presentation.
But before you run away, one might think just watching that video tonight that it's just all fun and games here, because that video just showed a lot of people having a lot of good time. But as we all know, it's not fun and games every single day. And we truly appreciate everything that every one of you do for each and every one of us. Several of us up here have completed the Citizen Police Academy, and it gave us a taste of what you do on a day-to-day basis. I, for one, can't even imagine being in your shoes. So I don't know how to express it to you, our true, sincere gratitude for you putting yourselves out there every single day to protect the residents of the city. And for that, we give you a huge thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, can I say a couple things, please?
Yes, sir.
Two things. First, Megan also deserves the Ticket Handwriting Hall of Fame Award. I read the tickets when they come into court, and when I see a ticket from Megan, I don't even have to know who wrote it. I can tell it's handwriting. You'd have to see a ticket to know what I'm talking about. Two, I've been in Milford law enforcement most of my career, and I am so very proud of this group, this force that we have here, and I consider it a privilege to work with them every single day. So thanks for that opportunity. That's why you can't pry me out of here with a crowbar. I love working with these people.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? All right, well, we'll take a second if you guys, I'm sure you don't want to hang around for the whole meeting. You're more than welcome to. But if you need to gather your things and exit on out, we thank you for your time this evening. And congratulations to all the recipients. Okay, everybody. And here we are. That was great. Okay, working our way through the agenda, I am looking at proceedings. Do I have a motion to approve the proceedings from the March 2nd special meeting work session?
So moved.
Actually, we'll combine those. Can I combine those? It's the same date. And the proceedings from the March 2nd council meeting. So a motion to approve both of those.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to receive the February 2021 finance report?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Okay. That takes us to our first public comment section. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address council? Now would be the time. Sure. Hi. If you wouldn't mind just by stating your name and your address,
Will
please.
do. Damian Nelson, 205 Laurel Avenue. And I've spoken to the chief, but you didn't know what I looked like. I've spoken to a whole bunch of police officers here. I'm talking to Sandy, I'm talking to Ben. Something has to change.
Okay?
The crosswalk, when you go across the bridge, that intersection between 126 and 50, it's just a mess. So, let's see how I can start. I've been out of town a lot, so I've only biked 3 times this year. 2 out of 3 times, I've almost been hit by a car. So it's already a bad situation. So I brought up a whole bunch of ideas on how we can fix it. Okay, just so you get, there are 3 problem spots.
I mean, if you don't mind, can you try to stay close to the mic so people in the
Oh,
audience
sure.
can hear you? Sorry.
Can I, because I'm really tall.
You can pull it off.
Yeah,
if
you
want.
are really tall.
Okay, first of all, we're talking about the intersection between 126 and 50 next to the bridge. 3 problem spots in which a cyclist or pedestrian, someone's going to get hit. The first problem spot is when you go from Camp Dennison, 126, traveling south towards Terrace Park. Cars in the right lane stop at the red light and then do a right on red. Whether that's legal or not, I don't know, but it happens. You know it and I know it. The problem is the vehicles can't see the second crosswalk farther down, closer to Terrace Park, which is, I don't know, let's say 25 yards away. Probably not quite that much. I didn't measure it out. So the cars stop. Again, the car's in the right lane. They stop, they look, and then they accelerate. And as they accelerate, suddenly they see, oh my God, there's someone in the crosswalk there. And you hit the brakes or they steer off to the side. You know, something has to change right there. That's the one that's gotten me a few times. The solution is no turns on a red traffic light from that side. Okay, follow me?
I
That's
do.
the first spot. Okay. I gotta take a deep breath. That was pretty emotional, all the awards.
It really was.
Okay, so the second problem spot, vehicles taking a right turn from the bridge to 126 North towards Camp Dennison. The vehicles stop, but they don't observe the active crosswalk because there's so much going on. You have the signs, you have this, that, and they stop, and a lot of times they stop and the crosswalk's here and people are crossing there. So they've already kind of missed a lot of the pedestrian traffic that's coming across. And Mark and I have observed that. The solution again, and I don't want to back up traffic, is no right turns on red traffic light. Okay. Third problem spot, vehicles taking a right turn from Terrace Park across the bridge to downtown Milford. Drivers can't see the active crosswalk because trucks and cars going straight from Terrace Park towards Camp Dennison are blocking their view. And they just can't see it, so they don't realize people are going across until they're already accelerating and we're almost in their path. The solution, again, is no right turns on a red traffic light. I understand about backing up traffic, everything else, I see it, but it's gonna happen, guys. It's gonna happen. People have to just stop and not be allowed to do these right turns.
I appreciate your comments, and you're looking
Yeah.
into that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, questions?
Can you share your story that you share with me on public
Oh, yeah.
record about the kids?
Whew. When was that, Mark? October, September? I don't know, it was a beautiful Saturday, Sunday, everyone's out walking. So we're coming from the Milford trailhead, and as cyclists, since we want to do the correct direction, we usually come down from the trailhead, take a right, staying on the sidewalk, and then do the farther south crosswalk. So Mark and I are standing there, and the crosswalk becomes active in both sides. See a gentleman with his 3 kids, one with a cycle. The cyclist goes across, this little 8-year-old, and then a car whips out in between both of those because he didn't stop and almost hits everybody
Wow.
there. But it separates the family. I mean, we see it on, I've talked to some of the police officers, and they know there's a problem.
Yeah. Oh, let me get,
And they're just so gracious about it.
yeah.
But it's gonna happen.
We've talked about it. We've talked about a bike bridge.
Your flashing
We've talked
lights.
about flashing lights
Yeah.
and trying to remedy, and you're right, and making it more complicated, of course, is now with COVID, everybody's buying bikes, everybody's getting out, and now with all the activity at the brewery and things, everybody's eyes and the billboard, everybody's eyes are going everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the billboard.
that's-
You know, Mark brought up a thing about, maybe putting during the high use times of the crosswalks on the weekends, on beautiful days, making sure there's, somewhere in there putting, take care of, watch out for pedestrians, watch out, you
Not a bad
guys
idea.
know.
That is not a bad
Great
idea.
idea.
Well, and even on our
That's
Facebook
why we
page, we
have
could
it,
put
you
like a
said,
new,
for
a
city
public,
messages.
put a public service announcement on our Facebook page and,
But to have it on that billboard,
Yeah.
watch,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've been hit twice already.
Oh, my.
Not here, but it's just so close, isn't it?
Yeah. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Ben, for suggesting it.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sandy, for being in town. Thank you, Mayor.
of course. We will continue those conversations.
Appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Anybody else? Okay, if there are no other public comments, we'll go to our Public Service Committee report. Ms. Chamberlain,
Awesome, thank you.
you're welcome.
So we held our Public Service Committee meeting on March 11th, and I called the meeting to order at 4 PM. Present at the meeting were myself, Ted Haskins, and Mayor Amy Velardo. Staff present was City Manager Michael Doss, Assistant Manager, City Manager Pam Holbrook, and Administrative Assistant Jackie Bain. Visitors were Phil Ditchin, Tim Casto, Ryan Merkel, Jake Hillman, John Lenahan, Ron Roberts, Don Hillman, Bruce Hillman, Becky Linzer, and Carl Margraf. The first item on the agenda was to approve the proceedings from the February 12th, 2021 Public Service Committee meeting, the minutes, and I made a motion to approve, and this was seconded by Mr. Haskins. Ms. Velardo abstained. We spoke about the review of the Influent lift station bids. Mr. Doss stated that this is part of the OPWC grant that was received about 1.5 years ago. We have been granted an extension due to COVID-19 to October to complete the project. Typically, the projects must be completed by June 30th. The project was put out for bid. We only received one bid. The bid was from Henry P. Thompson Company. The committee members reviewed a letter from Justin M. Mason of Environmental Engineering Service, which included a recommendation favorable to use this company. The bid from Henry P. Thompson Company was $160,500, which was less than the engineer's original estimate of $170,000. The city is responsible for 51% of the grant, and where we received 49% of the funding for this grant. Mr. Doss and the City of Milford Wastewater Department Supervisor David Walker concur with their recommendation. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance to enter into an agreement with the Henry P. Thompson Company on the Influent lift station screen improvement projects in the amount of $160,500.
Second.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Miss Evans,
Yes.
Miss Russell,
Yes.
Miss Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Haskins.
Yes.
Miss Chamberlain.
Yes. Next, we discuss the High Street residential development request for stormwater infrastructure. Assistant City Manager Pam Holbrook reviewed the timeline with the committee of this project. Phil Ditchin is requesting that the city provide labor service for the High Street stormwater project. On July 16, 2020, the Public Services Committee agreed to commit to paying Ron Roberts Engineering Services to provide a stormwater plan and cost estimate for both High Street and a survey of the system from Main Street, and the committee would then review any future commitments. Mr. Doss felt that the labor for High Street could be taken care of in-house. Tim Casto gave a presentation of what was found in the line running up Sycamore to High Street, which consists of 3 different materials, one being rock. The camera ran the length of the pipe until reaching the rock section of the line up by High Street. This revealed that we have bigger issues to address on Sycamore, and hope we don't have failure before we can get this taken care of. Tim Casto is working with Ron Roberts to figure out what is needed to address the line on Sycamore. Dave Walker stated if you remove one wrong block, and like a domino effect, the entire wall could come tumbling down. Then the entire road would collapse as well. He did not feel like the city crew would have the time or manpower to do the High Street stormwater project in-house, especially with the Influent lift station screen improvements. Mr. Doss stated that if we can't do it, then we would have to reject Mr. Ditchin's proposal, and it would have to be contracted out, and would the city entertain paying a contractor labor portion of that? But that would hold the contractor accountable and their insurance if something goes awry. The city would be covering that unless we would like Mr. Ditchin to cover his storm project. We have upgraded infrastructures for others before, and there is a long-term benefit if there should be a development that goes into the other end of High Street. There would be some existing storm to cover that part of utilities. It is not necessary, Mr. Ditchin's project, but a long-term benefit for anything else that comes up on High Street. Mr. Haskins asked Mr. Doss if his recommendation was for the city to do this coming into this meeting. Mr. Doss stated that yes, it was, but if my team feels that they cannot do that, then I will not put us under any unnecessary hardship or burden and make them feel uncomfortable. Mr. Haskins asked Mr. Doss, where does that leave us? Mr. Doss said that if it is a definite no, then we need to get back to Mr. Ditchin on other ways to work this out internally, and then report back to the committee. Ms. Chamberlain, myself, asked then if we are going to figure out cost with other contractors or something like that. Mr. Doss said yes, and to take a little bit more look at it, and again, if we can't work up some numbers for construction costs, and then we'll come back to committee to see if the committee wants to pay for the labor half of that or a portion of that. Next, we discussed 519 in-street vacation. Pam Holbrook presented information regarding a property request that was inherited from their father. They have an offer to buy, purchase, and during some closing years ago, the county said that they would have to get proper paperwork to vacate the street. Ms. Holbrook was not sure why it was never done and has never found any history regarding this, which was considered Old Water Street. Part of the house is on this street that was never vacated. It is just a simple vacation. The adjacent property owners did not have any issues. This would need to go before council as an ordinance to vacate from this portion of the street. The committee agreed to recommend that the law director draft an ordinance vacating a portion of Water Street behind 519 Main Street between parcel number 210730B027P and 210730A055.
Second.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Ms. Velardo,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Mr. Haskins.
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain, may I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Before you proceed, can I make a suggestion?
Yes. Please.
I
Please
think,
do.
I think Lisa's reading my mind. I am looking at 5 pages. These minutes as typed are part of the official record, whether you read them verbatim or not. Is there a chance that you are comfortable surmising that conversation instead of reading verbatim 5 pages? Because like I said, it's already part of the record, as is. It would be efficient if we could just,
State the concern and what was discussed, and
yes,
we're going to read it online.
yes.
Although it is pretty lengthy discussion. I think,
What?
It's up to you. You can read it if you
I
want.
mean, I think it was a pretty lengthy discussion that really concerns a lot of residents. I mean, I'll try to summarize as I go along. How does that?
Yeah,
mean,
I think you're right.
do
I'm
a
not asking you to
sum-
leave anything out.
No,
I mean,
no,
you
I'm
can hit
just
the highs and
thinking
the
to-
lows and what everybody said, the concerns
I don't
are
know how high and
safety,
low
the
I will.
concerns are buses, the concerns are, that kind of
I
thing.
will try to surmise as I go
Okay.
along. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had a very lengthy and lively discussion regarding Scenic River canoe bus permission on Cleveland and South Milford Road. Mr. John Lenahan, South Milford Road, Milford, Ohio, spoke about that he has lived at this location since 2016. Mr. Lenahan also serves on the BZA committee. He discussed the utilization of full-size buses by Scenic River Canoe on South Milford and Cleveland Avenue as a cut-through. Instead of going out round bottom route, he wanted to bring these concerns to the committee publicly. It has been a couple years building and watching the progression of more and more larger buses. Mr. Lenahan was happy that their business is successful and he's a happy customer, but he sees the buses on the road as a significant safety concern. He spoke to Pam Holbrook last June and was informed that the Public Service Committee had met at one point and had amended the city ordinances which relate to the traverse of large vehicles on city streets. Information given to Mr. Lenahan differed from the actual minutes from the August 2019 committee discussion regarding that the committee made a recommendation to the law director to amend the city ordinance to exclude school buses from the prohibition of traverse of large vehicles on city streets. He discussed the different buses that travel Cleveland Avenue. Last summer, 2020, it was almost exclusively the blue full-size school buses that exceeded the weight limits on the road, as well as the ability to traverse safely down the narrow streets. The amount of bus traffic is constant on South Milford and Cleveland. School bus operation is different from the commercially used buses. He felt that the city ordinances delineated between a school bus as a definition and a bus. It was clear to Mr. Lenahan that the buses should not be operating on South Milford and Cleveland, let alone the hundreds of trips each week that are not necessary, which causes a major safety concern in the neighborhood. My understanding is that we made a recommendation in committee in 2019, and it died, never making it to council to amend the ordinance. Ms. Velardo said that that was because we agreed not to change the ordinances. Buses are allowed, and she invited Ryan Merkel, the owner of Scenic River Canoe, to the podium so he could state that his buses are school buses, only that they are painted blue. At the end of the day, a school bus is a school bus, no matter what color it's painted. I clarified that in 2020, their fleet changed significantly because of the pandemic. The year before, they were using more of their mini buses, which is their typical normal bus. They upgraded their fleet to 5 school buses and 4 minibuses since they were forced to go 50% capacity. He explained his hours, that his drivers were also licensed CDL drivers. They are professional, properly trained, and they know what they're doing. I stated that the concern is with the large bus driving on through Cleveland Avenue, that there are cars parked along the side of the road, which makes it harder to drive through the area. I had suggested a different route that might be one that might be a little bit safer. Mr. Haskins asked, because of the pandemic this year, worst case scenario, would half the amount of bus trips would there be half the amount of bus trips going through and taking the equipment bus down a different route. So last year they were using the mini buses as well as the large buses because they can't take the kayaks on the mini buses. So you had the large buses as well as the mini buses driving. So Mr. Haskins had asked could they take the equipment down a different route. Mr. Merkel replied that you would see half the volume. Now we have twice the volume with one bus. Yes, we could easily work it out to take the equipment a different route. We discussed that the buses would be at full capacity this year since bus restrictions had been lifted. Mr. Merkel said that they give a speech to all their customers to show them along the river so that they can advise them where to go and not go, so they know they have the eyes on the river to be able to familiar themselves along the way. And then I just mentioned the alternative route that I had suggested. They could still do the advisement to all of their customers. So Mr. Lenahan commented he didn't bring this up last summer after emailing Ms. Holbrook and Chief Mills because he didn't want to bring any hardships onto businesses, which is why he was bringing it to the committee now, way ahead of any canoe kayak season. So we had several residents that spoke, and some in favor and asking additional questions. And yeah, Mr. Lenahan, which, you know, a lot of the residents spoke about the love of the city and the love of having the canoe and kayaks. And Mr. Lenahan was not talking about the identity of the city, but he was really concerned about changes of the route. Just because it's been done illegally for 30 years doesn't make it okay. Change the law to make it legal. So we kind of were in this discussion of what is a bus, what is a school bus, what does our ordinance say? And then many residents spoke, and Mr. Lenahan stated it would be the way that would permit trucks to drive through because the truck route would take their buses through downtown Milford, which I stated there's a lot more traffic downtown if they followed that truck route, but there would be a lot more traffic downtown. Mr. Lenahan stated that it would be the way that would permit trucks to drive through. There is a school bus definition in the school code, and there is a bus definition, and there is a school bus definition, and the school bus definition is very specific. I thanked everyone for coming to discuss what each person is experiencing and for how much each one cares about our city. And I really felt like we needed to have more of a discussion at council and that we weren't ready to make any decision at the time and that all were legitimate concerns. Ms. Velardo wanted to go on the records to say Ryan Merkel is a good neighbor. This discussion unfairly discriminated against his business. In her opinion, a bus is a bus. The intent may be one thing, but at the end of the day, it has to do with one thing: the vehicle and what is allowed on the street. In her mind, it was just unfair discrimination against him. If we are going to go there, then we have to talk about church buses, landscape companies coming through, and box trucks making deliveries. And the whole issue discriminates against your business, and I don't think that that's fair. Mr. Merkel gave his personal cell phone number to those that would want it, and if there was any further issues, to please contact him. There being no further business, the meeting adjourned at 5:38 with a motion from Ms. Velardo, seconded by Mr. Haskins, and all agreed.
That was a juicy meeting.
Sorry, I tried to.
Thank you. You did a good job, and all of us appreciate you surmising that for us. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to City Manager Report, Mr. Doss.
Thank you, Mayor. A few updates this evening. I want to let council know that we did receive a $10,000 grant to assist with parking lot expansion for Jim Terrell Park and new parking for Jonas Memorial Park at Riverside. This grant was from the Claremont County Park District. This will assist the city with parking expansion that we expect to realize from overflow from an increase in outdoor recreation this season. Hopefully be taking those paving quotes to our next committee meeting before our April meeting, so we can get those approved, so they can get the paving done before the season gets busy. Pavement management study, Kleinger's will begin performing detailed analysis of the asphalt pavement, concrete curb and gutter, and catch basin conditions beginning in April of this year. The city does expect to have those results be available to us by May. A few economic development updates. True Hotel is now open for business. Ribbon cutting is scheduled for this Friday at 4 o'clock at the site on Chamber Drive. Contractors will be pouring concrete footers next week at the new Staybridge Hotel. Christian Family Credit Union is on schedule for a late April opening. Cohatch started renovations on the interior of the building located at 203 Mill Street. Work, of course, continues at the Little Miami Event Center with a grand opening later this summer. And Cincinnati Distilling is still working on their project, the Old Millcroft. They're still anticipating an opening by mid-fall. OPWC Round 36 applications. The City Public Works Department began collaboration with Kleinger's and Branstetter Carroll on engineering designs for stormwater and waterline improvement projects in anticipation of applications for the next round of Ohio Public Works Commission funding, which we will be submitting in August. At this time, there are no standing committees, although, again, we'll need a couple of committees between now and the next council meeting. We'll be soliciting those over the next week. Reminders that March the 25th is a BZA meeting that will be at 6 o'clock, and the next regularly scheduled council meeting is April 6th at 7.
Thank you, Mr. Doss.
Thank you.
Police Department report, Chief Mills.
Thank you, Mayor. You should have received my February report, but I'll touch on some of the highlights. In training, all members received retraining on our temporary detention rooms. Officer Mel attended the first of 3 weeks of the Supervisor Training and Education Program, also known as STEP. Officer Dennis attended the monthly dive team training, and Officer Yeary attended the monthly special response team training. Some notable occurrences, we had a Grand Theft Auto report. It was from a car lot, though, on 28. We assisted the Milford Community Fire Department with a structure fire on Garfield Avenue. We had 2 reports of catalytic converter thefts. Those do appear to be on the rise again. And we had 2 more reports of counterfeit currency being passed at our retail locations. Some administrative items. The top 4 candidates for the vacant police officer position were interviewed by myself, Mr. Doss, and Mr. Manier. Tanner Williams was offered the position and has accepted, and we will be swearing him in at the next city council meeting.
Nice.
And some community relations items. Our friends at the Grace Baptist Church delivered a very nice, big thank you card. And we were featured in an article in the Claremont Sun about the spirit of community involvement and engagement that you may have seen.
I have one question.
Mm-hmm.
Why does one steal a catalytic converter?
The metal in there, the platinum, is very valuable. And, years ago, the Ohio
thing?
legislation changed and required scrappers to take more information, and that really curbed those, but it appears to be on the rise again. Yeah, I
Never
assume
knew
it's
that.
driven by the cost of the retail value, or resale value, rather, of platinum and the other metals that are in there.
I was one of those catalytic converters.
You got stolen out of your car?
Officer Hartman did a fabulous job, and Detective
Yeah.
Rogers has been on the case, and, yeah. We have a
In front of your
fantastic.
house?
Yeah,
Yes, in my driveway, in the middle of the night.
Yeah. a
Cut it
block
right
from
off.
the PD. Wow. Yeah. So
Okay.
please, keep your eyes out and give us a call. You're never bothering us. We'd rather investigate 100 reports that turn out to be nothing than have something like this happen if we could have prevented it.
Right.
And what a blessing to live in a small town, because I've lived in Brooklyn, New York, and in big cities where if you got things stolen like that, you just kind of took care of them on your own, and
Yeah.
it wasn't something you called the police for. So, just kudos to the officers and everything you guys do to make our city great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Fire and EMS report, Captain Miller.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello. So we've been busy at the firehouse. You may see extra traffic there. We've got Mobilecom putting in our extra security that we've got through the CARES Act funds. We're doing a lot of training. We're at the Milford South School doing hose advancement exercises. So that's been nice. And then we're going to be working with the police department later sometime this year before they start working on the building. So that's been good. The Easter Bunny is going to be out on the fire truck on April 4th.
Okay. We're doing the
Double
fire truck
check.
again?
We
Third?
are going to do it.
Is it Saturday? Is that?
It'll be the Saturday before Easter, April 3rd, sorry.
Third.
April 3rd?
April 3rd,
Bunny
at
on
1
a fire
o'clock.
truck?
Easter Bunny will be on the fire truck.
Okay,
So we will drive him or her around.
okay.
And we resumed MART as well this month, which we've been on hold for a few months, so it's been nice.
Okay,
And I was informed today that we've had 2 of our regular visits from 2019. They've now been over a year in recovery. So it's working.
That's awesome.
So that's good stuff.
Good stuff.
I just learned the other day that you have a new cadet,
Yes.
Riley Eggermeyer.
Yes.
I sent her there,
Did you?
but her mom forgot to tell me that she actually went.
Yeah.
And she's loving it.
She's there tonight. So.
Is she?
Yep.
Yeah, it's Kathy Hazard's granddaughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
We
It's
have
Stacy's daughter.
a amazing cadet program, and it's only growing. So they're doing a good job with that.
I love it. Yeah, I love how these kids get involved. You know, they're not really knowing what they want to do when they grow up, but it's a great way for them to test the water, right?
Yeah. And I told you guys last time we just hired one of them full time. So
Yeah,
it works out well for everybody.
yeah.
So, and then on a personal note, I just want to say to the police department, we give jabs all the time back and forth, but one of the main reasons I chose a career at Milford is because of our relationship with the police department. They are fabulous, so I think they do a great job.
We couldn't agree more. Thank you, Captain. That takes us to council comments, and I've just been advised that we are now live on Facebook. So for those of you who are just now tuning in, we're sorry about the glitch there. You are able to see the police awards on YouTube. So we will post that link on our page so that you can go and catch those, because it was a great time with those awards, and you are not going to want to miss those. So we will make sure that we get that information for you to watch those police awards. Does anybody else have any council comments?
Yes, Mayor, I would like to move that we go into executive session at the conclusion of tonight's meeting pursuant to section 3.053 of the Milford City Charter for the sole purpose of conferring with the city law director regarding legal matters involving the city.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Haskins,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Ms. Velardo.
Yes. New business, I don't think we have any. And Mr. Doss, you have any new business we need to discuss?
Do not, no.
Ordinances and resolutions. Mr. Manier.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2021-78, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with the Henry P. Thompson Company for the Influent Lift Station Screen Improvements Project, now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the Municipality of Milford. Section 1, the Council of the City of Milford hereby authorizes the city manager to enter into and execute an agreement with the Henry P. Thompson Company for the Influent Lift Station Screen Improvements Project for the contract amount of $160,500. The terms and conditions of the agreement are fully incorporated herein as if fully rewritten herein pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter. Section 2, pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Ms. Velardo,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Haskins,
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-78, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with the Henry P. Thompson Company for the Influent Lift Station Screen Improvements Project.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Ms. Velardo,
Yes.
Ms. Russell,
Yes.
Mr. Redmond,
Yes.
Mr. Haskins,
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain,
Yes.
Ms. Evans.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-79, an ordinance vacating a portion of Water Street, whereas M. Tanya Mitchell is the owner of real property located at and commonly known as 519 Main Street in the city of Milford. And whereas M. Tanya Mitchell has petitioned the city of Milford to vacate a portion of Water Street, situate between parcel number 210730B 27P and parcel 210738-055, and whereas M. Tanya Mitchell has obtained a written consent to the said vacation by all the owners abutting the portion of Water Street proposed to be vacated, as is required by Ohio Revised Code Section 723.06, and whereas the council of the city of Milford is satisfied that there is good cause for the said vacation, and that the vacation is not and will not be detrimental to the general good, now therefore be it ordained by the council of the municipality of Milford, Section 1, the council of the city of Milford hereby vacates that portion of Water Street located between parcel number 210730B027P and parcel number 270738-055, as is more particularly described and set forth on the plat of said vacation, incorporated herein by reference pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.03 of the Milford City Charter, Section 2. The city shall retain a right of permanent easement in the vacated portion of Water Street pursuant to Section 723.041 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 3, in accordance with Section 723.08 of the Ohio Revised Code, the vacation of that portion of Water Street authorized herein shall not impair the right-of-way and easement rights of the abutting property owners. Section 4, pursuant to and in accordance with Section 12.05 of the Milford City Charter, this ordinance should become effective immediately upon its passage by City Council.
Move to suspend the rules and read by title only.
Second?
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-79, an ordinance vacating a portion of Water Street.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Manier. Okay, so at this time, we'll be adjourning to executive session. We will be coming back to our regular council meeting for the purpose to close out the council meeting. So if nobody has anything further to discuss, can I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Velardo?
Yes.
Mr. Redmond?
Yes.
Ms. Evans?
Yes.
Ms. Russell?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Ms. Chamberlain?
Yes.
Mr. Haskins?
Yes.
Thank you. Good night.